Good afternoon and welcome to our midday briefing. Let me start with an update of the agenda of President von der Leyen, on top of the engagements that we already announced last week and which you can find online. The President is meeting today with the Minister of External Affairs of India, Minister Jaishankar. That's for the agenda of the President. Maintenant, et en français, j'ai des bonnes nouvelles pour nous, mais pour vous aussi. En fait, nous avons le plaisir d'annoncer que notre équipe de porte-parole s'enrichit d'un nouveau membre et je suis très heureuse de vous annoncer que Louise Bogey nous rejoint aujourd'hui, ou à partir d'aujourd'hui, en tant que porte-parole chargée de l'agriculture et de la fiscalité. Elle prend donc la relève de Balázs et de Ricardo, à qui je veux remercier leur contribution à ces dossiers importants. Et Louise vient de la DG pour l'agriculture et possède une ample expérience tant dans le domaine de la communication que dans ses politiques. Donc voilà, Louise, rejoins-moi pour te présenter et nous dire quelques mots.
Merci Paola, bonjour à tous. Donc en quelques mots, en effet, j'ai travaillé à la DG Agriculture et Développement Rural à la Commission européenne pendant presque 9 ans. J'ai d'abord travaillé en communication, dont une partie avec le service des porte-paroles, et là, ça faisait 4 ans que je travaillais dans la mise en œuvre de la politique agricole commune en France. I'm very happy to be working now as spokesperson for agriculture and taxation. My both working languages are French and English, and please don't hesitate to get in touch if you have any questions or if you want to grab a coffee. Thank you.
Voilà, merci Louise, et on vous encourage bien évidemment à prendre contact avec Louise. And back to English and moving on with our topics of the day. I would like to ask Eva to join me at the podium for an announcement that concerns our humanitarian support to the people in the Middle East, as well as our effort to repatriate European citizens stranded there amidst the ongoing war. Eva.
Thank you, Paula, and good afternoon, everybody. As the war in the Middle East continues to unfold, the European Union remains firmly committed to helping people in need. So today we are announcing 458 million in humanitarian aid for the region. This comes at a time when some major donors are stepping back. The European Union is not turning away. On the contrary, we are stepping up. From Gaza to Syria, Lebanon and Jordan, this funding will provide life-saving support, food, healthcare, shelter, education for millions of people caught in the conflict. The needs remain enormous. This assistance will be delivered through our trusted humanitarian partners on the ground in full respect with the international humanitarian law. Let me be very clear. European Union is now the largest humanitarian donor, still delivering aid in some of the world's most severe crises. And at the same time, European Union is also helping our citizens. Since the beginning of the crisis, we've been working intensively to bring them safely back home to Europe. Through the European Civil Protection Mechanism activated by 23 countries, we have organised nearly 90 flights, 90 repatriation flights from different destinations across the Middle East. So around 11,000 citizens have been brought back home to Europe. You can find the detailed figures in our press release. We also published a chapeau on the repatriation flights, and we have prepared a special fact sheet for you on the situation in Middle East. This will be published soon and available in the press corner.
Thank you, Eva. Pour finir, permettez-moi de vous rappeler que 2 conseils de l'Union européenne se tiennent aujourd'hui à Bruxelles. D'un côté, et avec la participation du commissaire Jorgensen, les ministres pour l'énergie se réunissent pour discuter du paquet réseau européen que nous avons présenté en décembre. Ils discuteront également de la mise en œuvre du plan d'action pour une énergie abordable, 1 an après son adoption. Et, bien évidemment, la sécurité énergétique sera également à l'ordre du jour. L'Ukraine et la Moldavie partageront les enseignements qu'elles en ont tirés les dernières années en termes de sécurité énergétique. Le commissaire Jorgensen participera à la conférence de presse qui suivra la réunion dans l'après-midi vers 16h30. De leur côté, les ministres pour les affaires extérieures de l'Union européenne se réunissent également aujourd'hui à Bruxelles et la haute représentante Kallas préside la réunion à laquelle la Commission est également représentée par la commissaire Suiza. Un échange informel a eu lieu ce matin sur la stratégie européenne de sécurité. Et à l'agenda figure aussi une discussion sur la guerre d'agression menée par la Russie contre l'Ukraine, après un échange de vues informel avec le ministre ukrainien des Affaires étrangères, Andriy Sybiha. Les ministres débattront également l'impact de la situation au Moyen-Orient. Au cours du déjeuner, ils seront rejoints par le ministre des Affaires étrangères, Jaishankar, pour une discussion informelle sur les relations parmi l'Union européenne et l'Inde. La haute représentante Kallas participera à la conférence de presse qui aura lieu aux alentours de 17h30. Donc, comme d'habitude, nous vous invitons à garder vos questions sur les sujets liés à l'énergie et les affaires extérieures pour les conférences de presse dédiées cet après-midi où nos membres du collège pourront répondre à vos questions. Voilà ce qui clôt nos annonces et on peut maintenant passer à vos questions. Roland.
Good afternoon, Roland Papin-Nimsova. I have a question regarding Hungarian elections because now the Russian disinformation campaign online is in full swing. So I was wondering if there is an update from your side, how the Commission or the platforms are working on that, maybe the rapid response system or anything else you can talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. And Thomas will tell us if we have news indeed in that front.
Indeed. Thank you, Paula. Hello, Roland. So beyond the roundtable, DSA roundtable that was already organized that we discussed last week, I can confirm that the 44 signatories of the rapid response system you're referring to have decided on Friday to activate that mechanism today. So this is very good because what does it mean? It's a voluntary system where not only big platforms such as TikTok and Meta will cooperate together with fact-checkers, civil society organizations to make sure that in the context of elections, they can quickly flag potential interference, potential disinformation campaigns, and this rapid response system will remain active until 1 week after the Hungarian elections.
So these are the new developments on this. Any other questions for Thomas? No. Good. Then we change topic. Jan? Not for Thomas? Yes for Thomas? Yes.
Sorry, I was still thinking about Hungary, but the question is about something different. Giambo Piccioli, Bloomberg News. I was wondering whether there's any update about the DSA fine against X. We know from last week that X has presented its remedies. If I'm not incorrect, today is X's deadline to either pay the fine or provide some kind of financial guarantee. So I was wondering whether Thomas could give us some update on the latest.
Thanks, Jan. Difficult one because the Commission is really not in the habit of communicating about financial transactions happening between private businesses and the Commission. What I can tell you is that as for the remedies, here also X is cooperative with the Commission, and one of the two options that you have mentioned has been met by the company. So again, here, cooperation took place, all good for now from our side.
A follow-up, Jan?
Since there is an active appeal against the fine brought forward by X, how does it usually work? Like, I'm not talking about this case, but what's a mechanism by which a company which has a pending appeal against a fine imposed by the EU pays or doesn't pay or provide a financial guarantee? Is there an escrow mechanism? Is there, I don't know, just showing that you have enough resources? What does financial guarantee mean concretely?
So we can simply use that concrete example that we have at hand. So the Commission was very clear. We found X in breach of the DSA for its blue check mark, saying it has a deceptive design, anyone can pay for it, no one can verify the authenticity of an account. So basically, our position is very clear. This led to a fine. Now, the company has announced publicly that they're filing an appeal in front of the Court of Justice of the European Union, where they will challenge our decision. That's completely separate from the fact that they have a legal deadline foreseen in the DSA to remedy the current situation beyond what the court will do in a fully independent way. They have to comply, they have to pay the fine and to offer remedies. Both of them have been done, and indeed, when you are mentioning the financial guarantee, it would mean that that the company would have to prove indeed that the money is available in case of need. But again, here I would refrain from going further than that, because these are really financial transactions between a company and the Commission. Again, cooperation took place. You may want to ask X directly if they want to send anything else.
Thank you, Thomas. Other questions to Thomas? I see online. Are these for Thomas? Let's check. Elisa Gekritzi.
Hi, thank you so much. Just to follow up a little bit, so the fine was issued on December 5, and I thought that they would have 3 months to pay the fine. Has there been an extension to the deadline?
Thanks, Elisa. No extension from our side. The days start and the clock starts ticking once we have an acknowledgement of received from the company. This lasted a bit beyond the initial announcement of the fine, hence the slight delay, but no official delay or grace period given from our side. No, it's just linked to the acknowledgement of receipt.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I still see one hand online, also for Thomas. Sandor?
Yes, it's for Thomas, and I would like to come back for one question about this rapid disinfo system activated for Hungary. Can you tell us more about who initiated the setup of this group? Is the Hungarian government also included, and what's the scope of action here? And are you worried about the fact that, various reports are saying now that, Russian disinformation units are actually working to influence this electoral campaign? Thank you.
Thank you. Surprised? No. Russian disinformation and interference is nothing new. We'll have, again, here, the European Union and its member states will have to show resilience and that our democracies are strong enough. Now, objective, very clear, elections are a national matter for our member states, and they have to remain in the hands of our citizens. That's the only focus we have. Now, on the rapid response system, because you're referring to that, it used to be a voluntary code where platforms, civil society organizations, and fact-checkers used to cooperate together to indeed flag disinformation campaigns, potential Russian interference, and to flag it then to the other signatories so that they can take additional measures or effective measures at their level to avoid that these disinformation campaigns or potential interference attempts are boosted. Now, here, these 44 participants, because now this voluntary code has been embedded into the Digital Services Act, so now these 44 participants, as for previous elections, have decided to activate that mechanism, and again, it will remain active until the end, 1 week after the end of the elections.
Thank you, Thomas. Other questions for Thomas? No. That is it. Other topics that you'd like to raise today? Yes.
I have a question about Georgian oil, Kulevi oil terminal again, one more time. This oil terminal was removed from sanctions list, and Georgian Dream propaganda now claims that the European Union was going to sanction this Kulevi port terminal without evidence of its wrongdoing, and Hungarian veto actually saved this port because they provided the explanations to the Commission after that veto. So can you say and explain why the port was included in targeted list of the sanctions, and also what can you say about this propaganda narrative that the Commission did not have any evidence of port's wrongdoings?
Okay, strictly speaking, this could fall under the remit of the Foreign Affairs Council, but we can recall what we said last week here. And as a general reply, let me just reassure you that whenever we put any proposal forward, this is based on clear assessment. So there are always good reasons for including or not including an element in the sanctions package in this case. But Siobhan, if you want to recall what you also said last week here.
Of course. Thanks, Paula, and thanks for the questions. So just again to reiterate, to go slightly back to what I had said last week when we had similar questions, that the port had been identified because of its interactions with Shadow Fleet vessels, and concerns that, of course, with Shadow Fleet vessels visiting the port, that it could be used for re-exports of Russian oil in breach of our sanctions. So this is why the EU sanctions envoy had received a commitment from Georgian authorities that activities which were of concern to the EU would cease. And then the Georgian foreign minister committed that no Shadow Fleet tanker would be permitted to call at its ports. And we also have received additional commitments from SOCAR, the state-owned oil and gas company of Azerbaijan that operates the port itself. So we, as with all sanctions and possible circumvention cases, monitor adherence to those commitments, and we will not shy away from taking any further measures if we see actors actively undermining the impact of our sanctions. So, as I said last week, Georgian authorities confirmed that they would cease these re-exports, and we continue to monitor closely that that is happening in practice.
Thank you, Siobhan. Other questions to Siobhan? We cannot hear you. No, only when the light turns red. Yes, now it should work.
When you say re-export, you mean that Russian oil was brought to Georgian territory and then they were reselling it as Georgian oil. Do you mean that?
I don't have the details of the case, but I would imagine that was what was happening, that the oil was being re-exported to the EU.
If no further questions to Siobhan, I see one question online. Catherine Carlson. Let's see who it is for.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, this is for Siobhan also.
Okay, go ahead.
On the UniCredit bid for Commerzbank today, does the Commission have any comment on this? And if you can't comment on the specific case, could you talk about your position on cross-border European banking mergers and the banking union more generally? Thank you.
I would ask you, if you don't mind, Catherine, to repeat your question, because it was not 100% clear, if you don't mind. I mean, we got the subject, the topic, but if you could just repeat your question.
The comment on this morning UniCredit's bid for a takeover of Commerzbank, and if you can't comment on this case specifically, if you can talk about the Commission's position on cross-border banking mergers and banking union more generally.
Thanks, Catherine. And as you rightly point out, we will not comment on any individual cases, but just to go back to some important measures, of course, what we need to make the Savings and Investment Union a success.
for the benefit of our citizens and companies is for us to have strong banks because they're key intermediaries in capital markets. And we have a strong and diversified banking sector in the EU, but our banks have not scaled up sufficiently to be competitive on the international stage that we know. And in general, consolidation in the banking sector through domestic and cross-border mergers would help improve bank efficiency and profitability, which would, of course, benefit consumers and the economy as a whole.
Thank you, Siobhan. Yes, please. No?
Okay. Hello, Alessandro Marchetti, Rai Italian Television. 2 questions from me, if it's possible. One about energy. This morning, Commissioner Jorgensen underlined that Europe no longer wants to import energy from Russia and also mentioned an upcoming ban on oil. I would know if the exemption for countries as Hungary and Slovakia are under discussion or not. And if possible, the second question is about climate, because could you confirm whether the agenda for the next Thursday summit will include a discussion on ETS and carbon allowances, and what's the Commission position on possible reform or suspension of the mechanism as requested by the Italian government? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alessandro. So on the first question, I will kindly refer you to the press conference this afternoon with Commissioner Jorgensen, because he is discussing, as we speak, with the Ministers of Energy at the Energy Council. So I do not want to prejudge any discussions that may be taking place and any decisions that may be coming from that Council. Regarding your question on whether the ETS will be discussed at the European Council this week, it is possible that under the subject of energy and energy security, indeed, the subject may come up. So you will hear more when we have the press conference at the European Council possibly on Thursday evening. Other questions? Yes, please.
My question is about the Strait of Hormuz. I'm not sure if this was already discussed a little bit earlier, but in the briefing as well. But this morning at doorsteps for the Foreign Affairs Council, some member states said that they had refused a U.S.-led mission to open the strait. I'm wondering if you can say a little bit if the Commission is interested in having Operation Aspides be deployed instead to the strait, so a more EU-led versus U.S.-led mission there.
Thank you. Also on this, I will need to refer you to the press conference this afternoon, because this is a subject that was scheduled for discussion today, all the issues around the Strait of Hormuz and what would be the involvement, if any, notably the question of the Aspides mission. So we may or may not have new developments in the course of the day. So if you don't mind, I'd refer you to the press conference this afternoon with HRVP Callas. Other questions? Yes, please.
Sorry, thank you for the floor. Andrea Valdambrini, Manifesto, Italian Press. Would you elaborate a bit more about the new security strategy? There is a difference with this new security strategy compared to the announcement of Ms. von der Leyen last January. Who will be in charge of the security strategy in the Commission or in the Council?
Good. So I see that the topics of today's councils are very trigger a lot of interest. The security strategy is also being discussed was discussed this morning. So I won't go into what came or will come out of those discussions. But the idea, and to try to reply to your question already now, is that this will be something prepared by the European Commission together with the External Action Service, so from President von der Leyen along with the High Representative Kallas. Other questions? Yes, please.
Hi, Lisa O'Carroll from The Guardian. It's about steel safeguards. Do we have an update on where we are with the negotiations with various third countries and where we are with the WTO? Thanks.
Looking at my team, do we have update on the negotiation of steel safeguards? It seems we do not, Lisa. So that makes it short. Other questions? Odile Harvey, online.
Oui, bonjour, merci Paola. J'aimerais savoir quels sont les thèmes des questions qui seront au programme de la rencontre informelle entre la présidente von der Leyen et le président Antonio Costa. Et parce que effectivement, si on suit le dossier indien, il y a peut-être des nouveaux programmes qui vont se mettre en place ou peut-être sont-ils là pour parler peut-être d'autre chose de la situation géopolitique. Enfin, est-ce qu'on peut avoir une idée? Merci.
Merci Odile. Oui, donc avant les conseils européens et dans la semaine des conseils européens, c'est habituel que la présidente von der Leyen discute avec le président Antonio Costa en vue de la préparation du Conseil européen. Donc c'est dans ce contexte-là que ces discussions doivent être vues. Odile. Other questions for us today? Does not seem to be the case. There will be still plenty of opportunities for the press today, as I mentioned at the beginning. So in the meantime, wish you a good afternoon. Thank you.